To start this, I, 39-year-old male, have been in semi-good terms with my daughter, 19-year-old female. Me and her mother separated when she was still a child due to personal reasons. I didn't get to contact my daughter as I cut contact with her and her mother back then until she contacted me back when she was 17, informing me that her mother passed away. I was devastated not knowing that her mother passed away for a year, and my daughter asking me if I could take her in as she wanted to go to a better senior high school and college for her future. During this time, I remarried to her now stepmother, 31-year-old female. When my daughter got into college, she met a guy from her class. They hit it off quite well. She was dividing her time to spending time with me, her friends, studies, work, and her then boyfriend. I then asked her before New Year's if I could meet him. She then set up a dinner for us at a restaurant. As me and my wife were seated at a table, her and her boyfriend were 10 minutes late due to an appointment she had with work. My wife started hating her boyfriend as she thought being punctual is a high standard to have. I shut her off, saying that my daughter had an appointment that day and to be patient. When they got to the table, I remember seeing and hearing my daughter being happy that she got high honors. I was so proud of her as she worked and studied hard for her time and attention to be divided for people to be happier than her. Then me, my wife, and her boyfriend got into the talk. I thought her boyfriend was nice and all. As for my wife, she hated her boyfriend. After the talk, we finished dinner and went home. As we got home, my wife talked to me, saying I should tell my daughter to break up with her boyfriend because she hated him. I called her unreasonable until she exclaimed that my daughter has to focus on her studies and work rather than her happiness. Saying stuff like, what if she gets pregnant, be distracted, etc. We then argued all night, and I ended up having to agree as she brought up points of how my daughter is always happy with giving more time and effort to her boyfriend and always in a playful mood rather than using it for her work and studies. I then had a talk with my daughter the next day. She started off being happy and planning for her upcoming birthday. I then brought up that she has to break up with her boyfriend or else we won't fund her college and her birthday. She started crying and breaking down asking why. I then told her what my wife told me, and ever since then they broke up and she hasn't been the same since. She stopped being overly happy, her grades started going down, she started giving empty responses and started smoking. My wife's cousin called me and my wife a jerk when we consulted her. My wife then argued about how it's unfair for us. Now I'm feeling immensely guilty for all this. Am I the idiot? Update. I tried posting an update and it turns out I can edit here. So I talked to my daughter without my wife being there, and as you guys probably expected, she couldn't salvage their relationship, and she found out that he cheated on her. So now I told her to tell me anything without my wife being there, or she doesn't have to know. I apologized to her profusely, and she said she's mostly pissed at my wife for what happened. For now, we decided to have a more father-daughter time bond to make up for everything. As for my wife and I'll have to have a serious talk with her later tonight. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, you're the idiot. First, you abandon your child over a conflict with her mother. She deserved to have both her parents in her life. Then you strong-arm her into breaking up with someone she loves because you accept your wife's idiotic paranoia that your daughter will destroy her whole life if she's not forced to be single and celibate at a time when most people are meeting their life partners. And now you're shocked that she's depressed and doesn't care about you or the life she had been trying to build for herself. Why is your daughter so unimportant to you? Why are you so willing to let women you've slept with destroy her life and your relationship with her? You should feel guilty. You've been a shockingly bad parent. Comment 2, Jesus, I hope this is a shoot post. So basically you abandon your kid, presumably traumatizing her enough that she didn't contact you until a year after her mom died. And where did your teenager sleep and live for that year? Then you pressure her into breaking up with her boyfriend, despite her getting great grades and otherwise doing well in other areas from what I can tell. And the only reason being that she is happy and may get pregnant? Like, talk to her about safe intimacy and all but Jesus. You assume she is in college and can't buy condoms or birth control pills or some stuff? Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a tough few months since then, and I've got quite an update for you all. So after my last post, I tried to spend more quality time with my daughter and rebuild our relationship. We started having weekly father-daughter outings, just the two of us, and it seemed to be helping. She was opening up to me more and her mood was improving. However, my wife wasn't too happy about this. She kept insisting that my daughter needed to focus on her studies and work, and that I was just enabling her lazy behavior. About a month ago, my daughter came to me with a business idea. She wanted to start a small online store selling handmade jewelry. She had been working on some designs in her free time and thought it could be a good way to make some extra money while doing something she enjoyed. I thought it was a great idea and offered to help her get started. We spent a few weeks working on the website and sourcing materials. My daughter was really excited about it and put a lot of effort into making everything perfect. But when my wife found out, she hit the roof. She said it was a waste of time and that my daughter should be focusing on her studies. She even threatened to cut off my daughter's college funding if she didn't shut down the store. I tried to reason with my wife, but she wouldn't budge. She said that if I didn't put a stop to this nonsense, she would leave me. I was torn. I didn't want to lose my wife, but I also didn't want to crush my daughter's dreams. In the end, I made the difficult decision to tell my daughter that she had to shut down the store. My daughter was devastated. She couldn't believe that I would go back on my word like that. She said that she thought I had changed and that I was on her side, but now she realized that I was just as controlling as her mother had been. She packed up her things and left, saying that she couldn't live under the same roof as me and my wife anymore. I was heartbroken. I tried to reach out to my daughter, but she wouldn't answer my calls or texts. I even went to her college to try and talk to her, but she refused to see me. My wife, on the other hand, seemed almost pleased by this turn of events. She said that now my daughter could focus on her studies without any distractions. A few weeks went by with no contact from my daughter. I was starting to get really worried. Then one day I got a call from the hospital. My daughter had been in a car accident and was in critical condition. I rushed to the hospital, but by the time I got there, it was too late. She had passed away. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that the last conversation I had with my daughter was an argument. I wished more than anything that I could go back and change things, but it was too late. My wife seemed to be in shock too, but a part of me couldn't help but blame her for what had happened. If she hadn't been so controlling and manipulative, maybe my daughter would still be alive. The funeral was a few days later. It was a small affair, just family and close friends. As I stood there looking at my daughter's casket, I couldn't help but think about all the mistakes I had made. I had let my wife control me and my relationship with my daughter, and now I had lost the most important person in my life. In the weeks that followed, I started to uncover some things about my wife that I had never known before. It turned out that she had a history of manipulating and controlling the people in her life. She had even lied to me about her past and her family. I realized that I had been blind to her true nature for all these years. I made the decision to leave my wife and start over. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, but I knew that I couldn't stay with someone who had caused me so much pain. I moved out of our house and started seeing a therapist to work through my grief and guilt. It's been a few months now, and I'm slowly starting to heal. I know that I can never bring my daughter back, but I can honor her memory by being a better person and making better choices in the future. I just wish that I had realized all of this sooner, before it was too late. Thanks for reading, everyone. I appreciate all of your support during this difficult time. My husband's sister wanted a joint birthday party, but he lied and said I was busy. So I taught him a lesson by canceling his precious anniversary trip and planning the ultimate birthday bash without him. It's my husband's birthday next week, a few days after his sister's. His sister messaged me asking if I had any plans for him this weekend and whether we would like to come and see her and have a joint birthday get-together. She lives 5 hours away, round trip. I said sure, that sounds great, and that I had no plans for him this weekend. But I am doing something special on his actual birthday. I do have something on with my friends on Saturday morning, but this is literally 1 hour and did not impact us potentially seeing his sister at all. This is relevant later. I spoke to my husband about this, and he said he wanted to do something, just him and I, for his birthday, for example, dinner, spend the day together, etc. And we also needed to save for many upcoming expenses, vacation soon, and moving house. And going down to see her would be expensive in fuel, gifts, having to pay for her dinner. She doesn't pay for anything, etc. I told him I already told her we were free, So he said he would call her and handle it and make up an excuse that he was seeing his own friends this weekend and couldn't make it. I agreed to this. He called her, and then after the call, he told me he had actually told her he was free this weekend, but he told her I was not, and that I was actually going to see my friends. He said his sister was surprised and said, "But OP didn't mention she was busy?" This has put me in such an awkward position. His sister told him it doesn't matter if I'm busy, and for him to come and see her anyway. I asked him why he changed the whole story and pretty much threw me under the bus. He said he felt sorry for her on the phone and didn't want her to spend her birthday without him, despite telling me a whole different story just an hour ago, and that it was fine if he changed his mind. I do recognize it's okay for him to change his mind and actually decide to see her. I feel massively betrayed. It's like he told me one thing and her another. I told her I was free on the weekend, and he said I'm busy with friends, making me look like a liar. He said we weren't going to see her as we were saving up, but then totally flipped on the phone. He called me selfish and cold and two-faced, saying I'm fake to his sister and asking why I have a problem with him seeing her. But the problem is really how he handled all of this, and he has pretty much stopped me from going too by telling her I'm busy. I told him I refuse to plan anything for his birthday now. I'm just so hurt and feel betrayed. I told him I don't want to see him this weekend, so all the plans are out the window. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. While it is a weenie move to make plans without confirming with your husband first, what he did is way worse. 1. He lied to you about what he was going to tell her. 2. When he switched it up and threw you under the bus, it made you look like a liar. 3. He suddenly decides he is going to visit his sister, but basically made sure that you can't come. 4. He resorted to calling you out of your name all these nasty things. What you did was a social faux pas, very easy to fix. What he did was lie, shut you out, name call you, and blame you for being upset about his manipulation. His behavior is more apt to be called what he called you. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but look out for that husband of yours. Gaslighting and emotional abuse. I would call his sister and rat him out. He deserves to be thrown under the same bus, and you deserve to have your name cleared, and the sister deserves to know what a douche nozzle her brother is. And I would go spend the weekend with the sister if you want, and I would never bother to try and celebrate his birthday again. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and support on my last post. It's been a tense few days since then, and I've got some updates for you. So after that whole mess with my husband telling his sister I was busy when I wasn't, things got even more complicated. The next day he came to me and apologized for throwing me under the bus like that. He said he panicked on the phone with his sister and didn't know what to say. I appreciated the apology, but I was still pretty upset about the whole thing. Anyway, we decided to just move on and focus on his birthday. I had originally planned a surprise party for him with all our friends and family, but after everything that happened, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I decided to cancel the party and just do a small dinner with the two of us instead. But here's where I messed up. I completely forgot to cancel the catering order for the party. So on the day of his birthday, we're sitting there having a quiet dinner, and suddenly there's a knock at the door. It's the caterers with enough food to feed an army. I was so embarrassed, and my husband was just confused. I had to explain the whole situation to him, and he actually thought it was pretty funny. We ended up inviting some of our neighbors over to help us eat all the food, and it turned into a bit of an impromptu party. It was actually really nice, and my husband said it was one of the best birthdays he's ever had. But the story doesn't end there. Remember how I mentioned we were saving up for a vacation and moving house? Well, it turns out my husband had been keeping a secret from me. He had actually been saving up money on the side for months, and he surprised me with plane tickets to my dream destination for our anniversary next month. I was shocked and thrilled, but also a little confused. I asked him how he managed to save up so much money without me knowing. That's when he told me the real reason he didn't want to go see his sister for their joint birthday celebration. It wasn't just about the money, but also because he wanted to use that weekend to finalize the plans for our trip and surprise me with the tickets. Suddenly, everything made sense. I felt terrible for getting so upset with him before, when he was just trying to do something nice for me. We had a long talk about communication and being honest with each other, and I think we both learned a valuable lesson. In the end, despite all the drama and misunderstandings, we managed to have a really special birthday celebration for my husband. And now we have an amazing vacation to look forward to. It just goes to show that even when things seem tough, there's always a silver lining. Thanks for reading, everyone. I appreciate all the support and advice from this community. Until next time. My parents forced me to babysit for years without pay and demanded rent. So I packed my bags while they were on vacation and left them to fend for themselves. So I, now 24 years old, grew up in a strict Christian household with a tightly knit family. I wasn't allowed to do much outside of school and church, and this continued until after high school. I was forced to babysit my siblings for free, and since my parents worked during the day, I had to take night and weekend classes in college to get a degree for myself while still being able to help my family. I had scholarships and was able to pay for everything without my parents' help, but my dad wanted me to get a job to help out with rent and other expenses. I agreed, as I did feel responsible being the eldest of four. So my parents and three siblings were living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and I worked my butt off in all aspects. I did chores, childcare, worked part-time, and attended college full-time. I had no social life because I had no time for it, and my parents heavily controlled my daily whereabouts. As I progressed through college, my grades started declining because I was looking for more hours to work and had less time to study. So I decided to drop out of community college and just kept working until I got a full-time job that paid well. By then, my mom had quit to be a stay-at-home mom, and my dad and I were the main breadwinners, although my dad never wanted to give me credit for helping so much. Since I had good credit and work history, my parents were planning on having me buy a house for them to live in and have me live in the basement until I could maybe move out. So after an argument I had with my parents about wanting to get a different job and try to move out, I decided to pack my things and leave while they went on vacation with the little ones. And when they came back to see that my stuff that I paid for was gone, they were furious. They sent me long messages about how I was selfish and inconsiderate, how I didn't care about my younger siblings, and how I ruined the family. It took a lot for me to leave, but it was the right decision, and they were only planning to use me for my money and not treat me as an adult. That happened last August, and my parents still text me saying how I made a bad decision. It makes me feel bad because I did help out a lot. I was paying my dad $550 every 2 weeks. Since my checks were weekly, I was still helping with chores and childcare, and I was always home. I would help pay for family vacations and buy presents for everyone on Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, and birthdays. They also compare me to my sister, who had moved out 6 months before me, also on bad terms, and my sister never helped as much as I did. But all the anger from her moving out, plus my wanting to move as well, made it impossible to live with them. Any little difference in opinion would spark a long religious lecture. Anytime I took too much time to do an errand, they would question me. I got so tired of the control they put on me for no reason because I wasn't a bad kid. I always did what they wanted. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm so glad you were finally able to leave that toxic household. Your parents used and abused you and did so many wrong things in the way they raised and treated you. And you're successful despite all that. That's amazing. The best thing you can do is go low contact with them so you can still see/communicate with your siblings and maybe help your siblings get out of that toxicity as soon as possible. You owe your parents nothing. They should be working, caring, and providing for their family. Definitely, definitely, definitely not the idiot. Comment 2, not the idiot. This was a form of abuse. Keep away from them. They'll try to draw you back in and abuse you some more. You're going to need a lot of therapy when you can manage it. You should also try a support group for people recovering from very strict Christian families. You'll find people with similar backgrounds who understand how hard it is to get away emotionally, to avoid getting dragged back, to resist all the guilt trips. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for reading my last post and for all the support. It's been a week since I moved out, and a lot has happened. After I left, my parents kept texting me, saying how selfish and ungrateful I was. They even showed up at my new place, demanding that I come back home. I tried to explain that I needed my own space and independence, but they wouldn't listen. They said I was abandoning the family and that I would regret my decision. Things took a turn for the worse when my dad got into a car accident. He was okay, but the car was totaled. My mom called me, crying, saying that they needed my help now more than ever. I felt guilty and agreed to come over and help out for a few days. When I got there, I realized that nothing had changed. They still expected me to do all the chores, watch my siblings, and give them money. I tried to set some boundaries, but they wouldn't respect them. They said that as long as I was under their roof, I had to follow their rules. One night, I overheard my parents talking about how they were going to use the insurance money from the car accident to buy a new house. They said that they would put it in my name, but that I would have to live with them and keep paying rent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I confronted them about it the next day, and they didn't even try to deny it. They said that it was my responsibility as the eldest to take care of the family, and that I was being selfish for wanting my own life. I tried to reason with them, but they wouldn't budge. That's when I realized that I had made a mistake by coming back. I had let my guilt and sense of obligation cloud my judgment. I knew that if I stayed, I would never be able to live my own life. So I packed my bags and left again, this time for good. It's been a few days since then, and I'm still trying to process everything that happened. I feel like I let myself down by going back, but I also know that it was a learning experience. I realize that my parents will never change, and that I need to put my own needs first. Looking back, I can see how my upbringing shaped me into someone who always put others before myself. Growing up, I was always told that family comes first, and that I had to sacrifice my own wants and needs for the greater good. I never questioned it because I thought that's just how things were supposed to be. But now I'm starting to see things differently. I'm realizing that it's okay to have my own dreams and goals, and that I don't have to feel guilty for pursuing them. I'm learning to set boundaries and stand up for myself, even if it means going against what my family wants. It's not easy, and I know that I still have a long way to go. But I'm taking things one day at a time, and I'm trying to focus on the positive. I'm grateful for the friends and coworkers who have supported me through this, and I'm excited to see where this new chapter in my life takes me. Thanks again for reading and for all the kind words. It means a lot to know that I'm not alone in this. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.